Hi guys, this is Matt with Traction Powersports, TractionPowersports.net. Today we're going to do a service on a Polaris RZR 200. The same procedure is very similar to the RZR 170. We're going to start off by doing the chain adjustment set procedure on the back side. So the spec on this rear chain is actually 5 to 10 millimeters on a new chain, 10 to 15 millimeters on a pre-stretched chain, so something that's already been used. This one has quite a bit of play inside of it. So what we're going to end up doing is on the top side in the back of the box, there's a plug. You're going to remove this plug here, and there's going to be a 19 millimeter bolt up top. We are going to want to break that bolt loose. So we're going to start off by breaking this bolt loose, be some tension on it, and you're going to break that loose. Once that's broken loose, you're going to come to the back side here. You're going to see this wishbone setup that goes to the back of the trans case, and up towards the top you're going to see two nuts, which I already have these already pre-loose. So you're going to break both of these nuts loose, and they're 19 millimeters, and we're going to move these down. Once these come down, what that's going to do is then we're going to go back up top, and we're going to go righty-tighty. It's going to pull the transmission up, and it's going to tighten up the chain. I'm going to grab my preset vernier caliper, and I'm going to set this in there so I have the depth on this, because it's 10 to 15 set at 12.99, so in between 12 to 13, so it's in the center of the spec. And we're going to set the chain slack on this in between 12 to 13 millimeters. So let's go ahead and get that done since these are loose. So we set our 19 millimeter up top there. Set the flashlight, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten this up. As we tighten this up, you can see the chain here start to tighten up. Okay, so watch as I'm tightening it, and I'm just kind of pressing on it as it's going. You can see the chain adjustment. So that looks pretty close. So let's bring our vernier caliper up, and again we're going to measure this arm on the end of the vernier caliper. So we're going to set it and set the adjustment slack. So that is actually very close. We need to go just a little bit tighter. Set it back in there, push, and that is exactly where we need it to be. So once this is set, you're going to want to hold this here and tighten up the two lock nuts on the bottom side. So starting with the top one first, get that tight, get your 19 millimeter wrench, get it up there, and let's get this top nut tight so it does not back out. And once you get your top one tight, then get your locking nut, so then it prevents it from backing out. Again, still holding that. Now, the best thing to do after you get done is always double check, just to make sure that nothing got moved. So we're just going to double check our measurement, and we are right there. So that's going to be step one of doing your service. Let's go ahead and put this stuff back. Now the next thing that we're going to do is going to be the oil service on this. This is going to require 17 millimeters on here of socket and a wrench. So the first thing that we're gonna do. Now I'm gonna grab the drain pan and stuff and get it done. But on the side over here, you're gonna have, this is gonna be your fill plug. And on the transmission, it is fill to spill, which refers to as you fill it with fluid, as soon as it starts to spill out, that is when you know that the trans fluid is full. On the bottom side of the transmission, back on this side, it's a lot easier to see. This is your drain plug. Again, that is a 17 millimeter. So we're gonna pull the drain plug. We're gonna pull the fill plug first. Then we're gonna pull the drain plug. That'll help it, let it breathe and drain the fluid out of there. So let me go ahead and get that going, and then we'll be back with you in just a sec. Okay, so we have the fill plug undone. We're loosening up the drain plug right now. Again, this is a 17 millimeter. So once that's pulled, you'll see the fluid coming out of the trans. Now, it's kind of funny because if you look in the service manual, Polaris calls for AGL, which stands for automatic gear lube. However, from the factory, in these transmissions, they fill them with 80/90 hypoid gear oil. I recommend inside of here, we run our premium blend side-by-side trans fluid. Part number is 789898. We sell it for $11.95 with free shipping when you buy it from us. So give us a call, let us know, and we can help you out if you need it. That same trans fluid we run in all of our Polaris products, and it is very good stuff. It's equivalent to the AGL. It's just clear versus purple. So we're gonna get these plugs cleaned up, let this get drained out, and then I will get the drain plug torqued down, and when I'm filling it on the side, will show you how I do the process, what's easiest for that, and what the fill to spill is before we get the plug in. Then from there we'll move on to the next step. Alright guys, so we got the drain plug reinstalled back into the buggy. On the side again, this is our fill plugs, and it does say fill with an arrow. Once we get our trans fluid, what I use is a pump with a hose. So we're gonna just go ahead and stick the hose inside of the fill hole, and we're gonna pump it. This is the easiest thing to do. You can use a funnel in stop, but the hole is so small and hard that I find this being the easiest thing. Get yourself a pump with a hose, or you can buy them at your local parts store, Powersports shop, any of that stuff should carry these, and just pump them till they're full. Once it's full, the fluid will start to spill out. It's not going to hold quite a quart. Spec on it is, I think, about 3/4 of a quart in the trans. So what we're going to do is, as we're filling it, just pull the hose out and continue to check it to see if it spills out at all. Once it does, then we're full. More. This job will help build your forearms. You won't have to go to the gym and work out. It's a fun process. Alright, so you can see as it's overfilling, it's actually starting to dribble out right along the side of the case. so we know that is full. We're going to take our fill plug itself, start it back in by hand. Grab our extension and our 17mm socket. I like using the Wobble Plus extensions that when you pull them out, it just gives you that little bit, especially with certain shields, things like that, so it'll set nice and flush. And these things do not need to be torqued down very much. Just lightly seat them with the crush washers. If you over torque them, once they get hot and the cases expand, it'll actually make the plugs kind of get stuck in the cases. So from here, we're going to clean up what we just done, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So give me just a sec and I'll be right back with you. All right, so after getting the transmission fluid filled on the machine and you get your stuff cleaned up, next thing I like to do is go now to the air filter, which is on the back right side tire. You're going to see your box, same side where your fill plug is. You're going to have two quick releases on each side of the box lid. Pull this off, pull this out. Back here you can see any like dirt, supplements, stuff like that, where you're going to want to make sure this is cleaned up. The air filter itself, these guys usually lock in pretty tight, so you got to wiggle them and move them and snap them out. This looks good here, and what we're looking for is any watermarks, oil, dirt, grime, any of that stuff in between here. And then just kind of want to shake it to see if you get any particles or dirt or anything coming out of it. This one looks pretty clean. See, there's a little bit right here, so we're actually going to clean this paper type air filter, but in order to clean it, do not spray air on the outside. You're going to spray air from the inside out and use light force. Don't use anything heavy wise. And then in the inside of the box, we're going to get this cleaned up as well. So let me grab some cleaner, some rags. I'll get this cleaned up, the air filter sprayed out, and then we'll get this back on, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we got the air filter back in, lid back on, everything's cleaned up behind there, snaps back on nice and tight. Next thing that we're going to do on this service is get the oil changed. Procedure for this is going to be let the machine run for about 30 seconds, shut the machine off, and then pull the drain plug on the bottom of the engine directly in line. It's going to be a 17mm. I will crawl underneath and show you guys that. Once you pull that out, there is going to be a screen in there. That screen needs to be cleaned before reinstalling it back in the case once it's drained. Once we change the oil filter, which you can see right here on the back right lower side, the oil filter is attached to the oil cooler. The oil filter part number for this, the Polaris number, let it focus, 302-3344. $13.99 is what these run. This holds just over a quart of oil. The oil that we run is 550 full synthetic. It runs $17.99 a quart, part number 840-0071. This is a full synthetic engine oil that we run in these. So I'm gonna go ahead, climb underneath here right quick, show you guys what the plug looks like that you are going for. Okay, so here is the 17mm drain plug right next to the oil filter, oil cooler. So that's where you can find that. Again, once you pull this, there is going to be a screen, so there's going to be a little pressure up against that. So I will be right back with you guys once I get the oil starting to drain and show you our next step once you get the oil drained and the filter off. All right, so we got the drain bolt out, the spring, and the screen. So this is the screen, and this is why you need to get it cleaned out. You can see all of the contaminants in there. And this is the first oil change on this machine, so typically you're going to get a little bit more out of there. And the bottom of the plug, again, you can see contaminants, which this is more like case sealant, bond sort of stuff. So I'm going to get this stuff cleaned out. Once we go to reinstall this, you're going to get this cleaned up, make sure that your O-ring's in good shape. If not, that needs to be replaced. Your spring is tapered. The heavier portion goes down, so that's actually going to set in there like so. Your screen, once this is clean and air dried off, you don't want any hard abrasions inside of there. It's going to set in there like so, and then this will slide back into the case. It'll collapse down, and then 17 millimeter on that, and then you're going to torque this down. The torque spec for this drain bolt is 10 foot-pounds. So we'll go ahead and get this reinstalled, cleaned up, reinstalled, and get the filter going in the next step, and then we will show you where we're at. Okay, so we have the oil drained, the new oil filter reinstalled. What next thing we're going to do, we have the dipstick pulled out. We're going to get a funnel, and we are going to fill this up with engine oil. The oil capacity for this machine is 1,050 milliliters, which is 35.5 fluid ounces. So we're going to get this thing filled up with fluid, get it fired up, run it, and then we are going to double check it. When you are checking the oil level on this machine, once the dipstick is installed, you are going to screw the dipstick all the way into the case, unscrew it, and then you're going to check the level, which will be done off from the grade of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get this filled up. The machine ran and all of the fluid checked on there. After that procedure is done, the next thing on the service will be doing the tire pressures, which if you're looking for the tire pressures, you can find it either in the manual or on the back side. You're going to have a tire pressure sticker, which just shows you 5 pounds in the front, 5 pounds for the rear tires on the machine. The next thing that we do from there is come into the inside and reset the oil life on the dash itself. So once this comes up, it's going to show you that a service is due. What you're going to do is just hold the mode button. It'll go into options. You're going to scroll through options until you see a screen that says service hours. You're going to click on this and you're going to go to 20. Then from there you're going to click that, go into exit, and that resets the service meter on the unit. Every 20 hours the service would be done. Check your parking brakes, lube all of your cables, recheck all of your roll bar bolts, nuts, bolts, fasteners. There is grease fittings on the sway bar links up in the front side, which right there is the grease fittings. So after you get the grease fittings greased up on it, just shake down the front end, check your lights on the front side, your brake lights, tail lights on the back side, and then the service is now completed after that procedure. If you guys have any questions, any comments going through any of this stuff, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to explain, help you guys get any parts or anything that you guys would need in order for you guys to complete doing your own services at home or bringing them into a shop. Remember, stay in the action, call traction.